guys, my name is Cammie and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to be canning string beans. So let's get started. Okay, we got our string beans here. These are gold mine beans. We've got our jars ready. We also got our salt sitting here. We're going to be wiping our rings off, so I always like to use vinegar, so I've got my vinegar and paper towel here. Our water is heating up because we're going to be using hot water to put into our jars. We're going to be raw packing. So the first thing we're going to do, I like to do, is for quarts, we're going to use a teaspoon of salt, canning salt. And for pints, we're going to be using half a teaspoon of canning salt, or you can use plain salt. I like to go ahead and put my salt in so I won't forget it. We'll go ahead and do 2 jars, get our salt in there. And then we're just going to fill up the jars. And we're not going to go completely to the top. We're going to go a little bit down here, and then we're going to fill our hot water up to this little ridge right here. Now these are have been washed. As I'm going through these, in case I miss, like this. In case I miss something like that, I'm looking to see if I missed it, because this is a lot of beans. One of the things I like to do, and I've got these like in bite-sized pieces. If I don't want them too big, then I'll just snap them in half. But I like to get them with bite-sized pieces. One of the things I like to do is to shake my jar around, because it kind of helps get those string beans in there situated. I'm always looking. I did these last night. I went ahead and washed them. I got them snapped. I put them in the refrigerator, so I'll be ready for today. So we got that. Now we're going to get our hot water. I love this little kettle right here. And that was my cat hitting the camera. So I love this little kettle right here. It makes it fast and easy. I got super hot water here. Once again, we filled it up to that ridge, and this is this is getting hot. So this is raw packing. Now we're going to debubble. I like to debubble really good. Not only does it get the string beans situated, but it gets all the air bubbles out. And so I love to debubble real good. I find out it holds my liquid in. Our next step is that we're just going to take our little vinegar here. And you can use water, but I like to use vinegar. Seems to make the jars seal better for some reason. It just cleans it real good. I'm always looking at my jars to see if it's cracked up here. I look at my ring and my lids. Now, Ball says that now you don't have to put these in hot water. I do it both ways. In other words, you can put your lids and your rings in hot water. You don't want to get it too hot because you're dealing with a rubber gasket here. And then we're going to put this on there, finger tight. Okay, everybody's strength is different, so don't over tighten these jars. We have our canning pot ready. We've got water in it. It's heating up. So we will not be putting these jars into cold water. And I put 3 tablespoons of vinegar in there because I'm on well water. It keeps the minerals off of the jars. Once again, this jar already has salt into it, but it's half a teaspoon for pints, a teaspoon for quarts. So I like to go ahead and put my salt in there, because if I do not, usually I end up forgetting it. Now you don't have to put salt into it, but this is what I like to do. Once the water is in there, these have a tendency to settle. Get our hot water. Put it up to the ridge, which is 1 inch spacing. That ridge to here is 1 inch spacing. Then we're going to debubble real good. And this jar is getting hot because that water is hot. Ooh, that's getting hot. Then we're going to take, you don't have to dip this every time, but we're going to wipe our top off here. We're going to grab our ring and our lid, finger tight, and then put it into the canner. So what I'm going to do now is finish the rest of these jars here, and we're going to go to the next step. So we already got 9 pints into the canner. So I'm going to have to be putting one of these on. It's like a tier that sits on top of the jars that's already into the canner. And then I can put the rest of the jars into the canner. So we have 13 pints and one little one here. I didn't want to waste these beans. This is the last of the Gold Mine string beans in the garden. And so I put it in this jar, and it's going to go for the same processing time as the rest of these pints. So these jars here will be processed for 20 minutes under 10 pounds of pressure. So we're going to go ahead and put our lid on. This is a Presto canner, so it's really easy to can with. I have All-American. It's a little bit, it's easy. To me, it's easy. But I have All-American. It's easy. But this Presto is really super easy. So I'm going to turn this up on high, because what's going to happen is it's going to build more heat up in here. It's going to build up pressure, and then eventually, not very long, because there's hot liquid in there. The canner's hot, and the jars are hot. Everything's hot right at this moment. And so it won't take very long for this canner to build up pressure, and steam will come out of this vent right here. And it'll steam for about 10 minutes. When it starts steaming out, I'll set my timer for 10 minutes. I want this vent to vent for 10 minutes. Okay, our canner is venting. I can see it looks like smoke. It's venting out. The hot steam is coming out. And I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes. When this timer stops, then I will put my weight on. And it's going to build pressure up to 10 pounds of pressure in my area. Now yours might be 15 pounds of pressure. This is where you need to find out your PSI into your area, which will be into your manual. So once the timer goes off, I'll put the weight on. It'll build up to 10 pounds of pressure. Once it reaches 10 pounds of pressure, because my burner now is setting on high, once it reaches 10 pounds of pressure, this is where you're going to watch it very carefully, because it can rise very fast. And then once it gets to that 10 pounds of pressure, I'm going to cut my burner down. Now, to begin with, I'll put it around 6. You've got to get to know your stove when it comes to canning. And then I'll watch it. If it looks like it's going to continue climbing, I'll cut it down to 5. And if it looks like it's going to continue, I'll cut it down to 4. I'll just keep adjusting, maybe 4.5. I'll just keep turning it down just a little bit until I can get this gauge here regulated at 10 pounds of pressure. Okay, I didn't have any sound. So the timer went off at 10 minutes. It was venting steam out from the vent. And I put the weight on. It's climbing very fast. We're going to go to 10 pounds of pressure. Once it reaches 10 pounds of pressure, this is where we're going to start our time. I'm going to cut this down. It's on high right at the moment. That's why it's climbing very high. I'm not counting all the heat in there. I'm going to cut the burner that's on high down to probably around 6. I'm going to watch it very carefully. And if it's, what I'm trying to do is get it to stay stable. So if it continues to climb, This is where you watch it very carefully. I'm going to cut it down. I'm going to keep cutting it down. I might even go all the way down to 4. You got to get to know your stove because every stove is different and every canning session is different. So you have to watch this very carefully. Once I get it on 10 pounds of pressure, then I'm going to set my timer for 20 minutes because I'm doing with pints. Quarts should go for 25 minutes. Okay, for just a little recap. You're going to add 1 teaspoon of canning salt per quart to the jar. For pints, you're going to use 1/2 teaspoon of salt per jar, if desired. That means if you don't want salt in your jars, don't put salt. You don't have to put the salt. You're going to add boiling water. You're going to leave 1-inch head space. You're going to remove the air bubbles. You're going to adjust the head space if needed, which means if your beans are kind of out of whack, you're going to adjust that. You're going to adjust your product, and you're going to wipe the rim of the jars. You're going to wipe the rim of the jars with a damp, clean paper towel, and you're going to adjust the lids and then process. Okay, we're at 10 pounds of pressure. I'm going to cut this down to 6. I'm going to start my timer for 20 minutes. It's climbing. I'm going to cut it down some more. I'm cutting it on 5. I need to get this gauge regulated. Now it hasn't gone too high. There's little lines there that lets me know. I'm going to cut it down to 4 because it's so hot in there, it'll just keep on climbing. We notice that this is still up. Now I'm going to stand here. I'm going to watch it. Make sure that it stays on 10 pounds of pressure. Now, if it goes up just a little bit, say 11, I'm not concerned about that because it depends on the product that I'm cooking, that I'm processing here. So, and my experience is that if it goes 11 pounds of pressure, no matter what I do, it stays at 11 pounds of pressure. So the counter knows exactly what it's doing. And I'm going to watch it because I don't want it to drop too far. See, it's kind of going down, so I turned the burner up just a little bit. I've got to get it regulated. Don't want it to drop below 10 pounds of pressure. It's still on 10. It's right there at the edge. I turned it up just a little bit more. It's remaining steady. I like to keep it, say, on 6, and then, you know, just watch it turn down little bit by little bit. This time I cut it down a little bit more because it looked like it was going to really go, my experience, you know, go past my 10, just keep on climbing. So I needed to get that heat down. I just keep adjusting it. It's climbing a little bit. It's perfect at this moment. So I'm going to continue sitting here watching it. My experience is after about 10 minutes, when I get this regulated, which is right now it's at 10 pounds of pressure, it'll just stay at that pressure. But this is where you need to watch it. It's very crucial to watch it. Watch it the whole entire time, but it's very crucial because this is where it can rise too high or it can go too low. Our timer's gone off, so I've gone ahead and cut the timer off. I've cut the stove off. It was setting at 4. The temperature on my stove was setting at 4. Now, this gauge right here is setting exactly 10 pounds of pressure. It's going to drop all the way down to 0. When it drops down to 0, this little thing right here is going to drop. It's going to go down. And then I'm going to wait 5 minutes, about 5 minutes, before I take this weight off. If you take your weight off and you still got steam coming out, then, you know, you just wait because you want all that steam to go out. And you'll know because when you take this off, it'll go shh. So if it's doing that, you don't want to take this weight off. That's why I say when this goes down to 0, I usually wait at least 5 minutes. If I hear jars rattling in here, or I hear it bubbling, I just wait until that stops. And usually when that stops, there's no steam coming out of here. So you definitely don't want to take this off if steam is coming out. If you hear shh, you know, just wait because it'll rattle your jars in there. Another reason I like to wait because it's summertime, the AC is going, this is super hot, and I don't want to take these jars out. You know, I like to wait let it get adjusted. And I want to take them out for all this cool air in hot jars because it can crack them. Okay, our gauge has dropped down to 0 and it's been sitting here. This right here has dropped completely down, and now we can take the weight off and we don't hear any steam. So it's time to open up the canner. It's very hot. Be sure that we open it away from our face. There's some hot steam coming out of here. Hot, hot, hot. I'm going to put this over here. And this is what I hear. See, I should have left it on there maybe just a little bit longer, but this is what happens when the AC is rolling. See that liquid coming out of there? The AC is on, that's why I like to let it sit here even longer, you know, at least 5 minutes. It's been sitting, but I like to let it sit a little bit longer when the AC is rolling. Definitely 5 minutes, but it depends on how cool it is into your house. Because once that cool air hit those jars, those hot jars, it starts spewing out. But it's okay, it'll calm down. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to take these out of jar. I'm not going to take these out of the canner. I always let them sit there for a little bit because it's so hot in there and it's cool in here. So I'm going to let these jars sit here into the canner until they cool down. Then I'll put them onto the counter with something underneath it. Around about 24 hours tomorrow, I will label them, and you can hear it pinging. I will label them and put a date on them. And then I'll be able to take the rings off. I can wipe my jars off with a rag, a good clean rag, and they'll be ready for storage. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you on to the next video.